Okay, so welcome back. Some of you may remember we were factoring quadratic or polynomial expressions. And when we did, we had two factors when we were done. And now we're going to solve equations. And the first step is to factor them. As you can see, these are already factored, these first couple of problems. So all you're going to do is take each factor and set it equal to 0. And you don't really need to put parentheses there at this point. And you see, if you'll remember me telling you, when you're multiplying two numbers together and the answer is 0, then one of the numbers that you're multiplying must equal 0. This one could equal 0, or this one could equal 0. But there's no other way to make the answer 0 other than one of these equals 0. So we're going to set them each equal to 0 and solve. So you're going to subtract 3 from both sides. 4y equals negative 3. You're going to divide both sides by 4. Y equals negative 3/4. Over here, I'm just going to add y to both sides because that says minus y, and that's just the easiest way to be done with this. 2 equals y. If I had subtracted the 2, then I'd have negative y equals negative 2, and I'd have to do another step. So here it is, I'm done. Now it says if there's more than one solution, separate them with commas. So I'm going to put negative 3/4, comma, 2. And I'm going to be done. Okay, the first couple are like that. Then the next few, you're actually going to have to factor them. So you have problems, the first few like that, and then we're going to find roots. So here we go. Here's another problem. Now this is the next type of problem in this assignment. And we have to actually factor this. Now, since it's just two terms, I'm going to look for the greatest common factor between each term, and I'm going to say 3u times u plus 7 still equals 0. Now I have my factors, so either this equals 0 or this equals 0. So 3u equals 0 and u plus 7 equals 0. Divide both sides by 3 and we find that u equals 0. Subtract 7 from both sides, we find u equals negative 7. Now again, if I'm going faster than you can think, please use your pause button. Please use your rewind button. And the best method for doing this, if you're not the best at math, or you're not the best at this kind of math, is now pause this and work through this problem. Okay? Go back to the first ones. Work through those problems while you're watching how to do it. Then when you get to this problem, then watch this part of the video. Now I'm going to show you the next problem. Okay, so if you work through all these problems, then come back to the video and you will see one that's going to help you with that. Now remember, when we factor this, we're looking for two numbers that add up to give you 6 and multiply to give you 5. And in this case, it would be 1 and 5. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 plus 5 is 6. So now we know that the factors of this are x plus 1 and x plus 5. Now we're going to do what we did in those first kind of problems. We're going to do x plus 1 equals 0, x plus 5 equals 0, and we're going to solve. Subtract 1 from both sides, x is negative 1. Subtract 5 from both sides, x is 5. So, separate them with commas, so you're going to put in negative 1 comma 5. Okay? Notice that was lead coefficient 1. Now we're going to have one with a lead coefficient bigger than 1. Watch. See now? And we're going to have to move things to that side of the equal sign with it to get it set equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract both of these from both sides so that I get 5x squared minus 14x minus 3 equals 0. Now I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me negative 3 times 5. The outside coefficients, you multiply them. Negative 3 times 5. And they add to give me negative 14. So they multiply to give me negative 15, and they add to give me negative 14. So I find negative 15 and positive 1. 1 times this equals this. 1 plus this equals this. Now, since the lead coefficient was greater than 1, we have to do the box. We put the 5x squared here, we put the minus 3 here, and now we split the minus 14x into these two here. That's what we found these for. Greatest common factor out the side, 5x. X, greatest common factor. If we take the x out here, that's a 1. And this is, take a 1 out, it's minus 3. And we find our factors are 5x plus 1 times x minus 3. And it's still equal to 0. So 5x plus 1 equals 0, and x minus 3 equals 0. And since I've shown you these steps 100 times here, or 3 times anyway, I'm not going to bother explaining what I'm doing each step, because I've explained what I've done each step here quite a few times. You should be able to see. Subtract 1, divide by 5, add 3, both sides. Okay, so now really interesting thing is some of your problems will call these roots, some will call it zeros, and some will say solve. And that's all the same thing. So we're going to find the zeros. Okay, well that's all the same thing because what we're doing is we're looking for where does this quadratic equation intersect the x-axis. That's where the y is 0. Those are also known as roots. They're also known as the solution. So, here's another one, and we've got to factor it. Lead coefficient is 1, so we won't need to use the box. Something is going to add up to negative 11 and multiply to 24. Okay, that tells me, since this is positive, that tells me both of these are negative. If there are no zeros, click none. Okay, so let's see. 3 times 8 is 24. Negative 3 and negative 8 add up to this, and they multiply to that. So I have x minus 3 times x minus 8. Now I solve. Right, add 3 to both sides. Add 8 to both sides. 3 and 8. And that is a zeros. And let's do one more with lead coefficient greater than 1 here, and we'll call it good. So, 3v squared minus 2v minus 5 equals 0. Right? I have to move these, get them all on the same side of the equal sign, and get it set equal to 0. Okay, that's what I did here. Now I'm going to factor this. So, 3 times negative 5, and something multiplies to give you this and adds to give you that. I already see the number, negative 5 and positive 3. Now I come over here. Since this is not 1, I have to use the box. 3v squared, negative 5. Let's see. And negative 5v. Oops, let me do it this way. 3v and negative 5v. So this way 3v comes out, leaving v. Take v out here, negative 5 is left. Take negative 5 out. So you get 3v minus 5 times v plus 1 equals 0. Set each of these equal to 0. And solve just as we have done in every problem. Solve. It's 1 or 2 steps each. Thank you. Good luck with that's for assignment number 1.